Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Thursdays with Tracy. I am live after a 1 week hiatus. I'm here to discuss all things politics. I'm going to get right to it by, of course, asking you all to remember to like the channel, subscribe, get notifications, and of course, if you feel so inclined, to please support us on Patreon. There is our address right there on the screen. It'll pop up every now and then just to give you a heads up. So I'm going to just go ahead, bring in my guests because they're in the waiting room. So we're going to add them and we'll get this thing going. Okay, gentlemen, good evening.
Hi, Tracy. How you doing?
I am doing um fantastic, but a little frustrated. I'm a little frustrated this evening, and I'll get into why in a little bit. Marlon, how's it going?
It's going good. How's everything, Tracy?
Like I said, I'm happy, but I'm a little bit upset. Um, I keep getting madder and madder at the Democratic Party. I have to remind myself that the Republican Party is garbage, and I keep having to say that, and keep having to say that. But eventually, someday, it's like, okay, I'm getting tired of y'all. It's like, and I'll tell you why I'm saying it. So, um, of course, you all know about the bill in Texas to control women's reproductive rights. And finally, a Texas judge stepped in, declared that law unconstitutional.
Yep.
Why can't Biden just pack the courts? He doesn't need a filibuster to do it. Just put in the judges, rule this unconstitutional, and we're not sitting here trying to think, is Roe v. Wade going to be the law of the land? Is it going to go away? What's going to happen to it?
Can he do that? Because they relaxed the filibuster for the courts, right? But we still have two insurgents or whatever you want to call them in the party that would still keep the party from hitting 50, wouldn't it?
I thought,
No.
and anybody in the audience can correct me if I'm wrong, I thought when it came to the Supreme Court, it was just majority rules and that's it. That's
But
what I
even
thought,
that's what I'm saying. But even with that, because I think McConnell did that, or it
right?
might have been, it could have been the Dems who did it. I don't know. All of them are whatever. But they relaxed the filibuster for things like that. But the problem still remains: if you need 51, you need Cinema and you need Mansion,
Yeah, those two nitwits.
and I don't see. I mean, they'll just manufacture another reason for why they won't do anything.
And there's my other question. That's the other reason. Does Joe Biden not know he has access to Air Force One and that he can ask them to fly to those two states and say, hey, this person is stopping your rights? Does he not know what the bully pulpit is? Or am I just sitting here just trying to just give him not enough credit? Because he acts like, oh, I know what it is, and I'm not going.
I think that he waits for when he thinks it's most impactful, given how crooked the Congress is. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. And I don't, I'm not a fan of his, but um, until the Republicans are successful in getting this everything to wait until next year, he still has to pretend as though he can get something done this year. And that requires Manchin and Sinema.
Right.
So it's this sick game where nothing gets done.
Yeah, nothing gets done. I'm like, okay, we could potentially lose Roe v. Wade, and if you live in a certain state and you're the wrong color, you're going to have barriers. Now, they're not saying you can't outright don't vote, but they're making it harder for you to vote. All because you're just sitting there like, okay, okay, you can't do. It's like, what are you? I just want to scream. What are you doing? And that's what's making me so upset. And Marlon, you wanted to say something, but I just kept going.
No. Well, here's the deal. We're speaking as if we're speaking to two individuals who actually care. And right now, cinema just don't care. When it even comes to the reform bill that's on the block now, and she's stopping it, but she's not giving a reason why she's stopping it. She's not giving any reason. giving any demands of what she wants. She's just flat out stopping it. It's two things with it is both of them is heinous. Cinema don't care because Cinema's not going to run anymore. Cinema is in there. She's going to get as much money as she can. She's going to get out. So that reason she got the answer to absolutely nobody. She don't care. She answers to her donors. She's going to get up as much money as she can, and she's going to get out. Mansion don't have to worry about it because unless West Virginia can find somebody to run against them and beat him, he don't have to answer to anybody but his donors. Right now, we're talking about a reform bill where he came out today and said um, the human infrastructure bill, the progressive have to pick one of the three human infrastructure bills that they want to pass. So see, he's already playing games with this because his donors have said, "Nah, this ain't gonna work. You need to get in there and do something." And that's exactly what he and we have to be realistic about it. This is what Manchin was hired by corporate West Virginia corporate donors to do. You are hired to stop anything that's going to cause us damage, money wise, structure wise, whatever. We hired you to do a job, and Manchin is doing one heck of a job.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
stopping what he's supposed to do. So when you sit there and say, why is Biden not going up there and doing A, B, C, and D? You're talking as if these two people can be moved. They can't. Not by Biden, not by anybody. The only people that can move them is their donors, and the donors are not going to shoot themselves in their own foot to satisfy the United States. They already
Oh,
got their money.
yeah.
And if
So,
Biden loses to a senator, he won't get anything done.
and that's what I guess is frustrating because not that I discount what you're saying, Roman, but how is the regular person supposed to overcome that? We've identified what the barrier is. How do you move past that barrier?
I think the way you move past it is we, um, as a population, have to stop being lazy and deferring responsibility to someone else, expecting someone else to fix it. Like we treat politics like it's our favorite sports team, or something we're watching on TV, and then get upset when they, blow the play. We Mansion is a creation of like 40 years of. First, he was a coal company executive. He owned a
Mm-hmm.
coal company. Then he became a governor of a coal state. He makes more money through his owners than he does through his salary. So we all are more. You're more loyal to who pays your bills, right? So he doesn't work for the Congress. He works for the people who give him money. So this is something that's been going for years. I don't see how anyone can logically expect something we know to be corrupt, we know to be messed up, and we've known this for 100+ years to suddenly get fixed in two. That's not how life works.
And we're looking at a guy who knows how to play the game. He's
Yeah.
kept quiet and he played our game when Trump was in office. He played the game very well. He kept low profile. He was for the people and everything else and blah blah blah. Only because Trump was that bad. Trump is not there anymore. Biden is there. And what did Biden do? The status quo. And
Yep.
what I said it 100 times, I'll say it again. We all forgot what the status quo was
Corporate
because of
greed.
4 years of Trump. We
Yep.
can't complain about what's going on now because this was what it was at the beginning. Nothing was getting done. Or when it was time for election. And to answer your question, what can we do? It'll get done next year, 6 months before the election.
Well, the new
And it will,
promises will come out.
yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say, well,
yeah.
yeah, and that's a
We'll get a couple of things. I
Yeah.
guarantee you, we'll get a couple of things because it'll be election time. And and I thought about this the other day when we was holding the discussion last week. If you really want to start pushing things, we really need to stop honing in on this majority. We need a majority. In other words, we need to stop thinking of we have the majority. And as we can see, it only takes 2 senators to stop
Right.
the majority. No, we need a majority as in, okay, Manchin, okay, Sinema, you don't want to, we don't need your vote.
Yeah,
We
we
got
need
we
60.
got more people.
Yeah, we need 60 senators, basically.
Well,
60
which won't
Democrats.
happen because of
No.
the way our country is structured. But we do need
Yeah.
at least 52 to 53.
Yeah.
You know,
I
so
would
that
say
you can
60
then.
because that gives you wiggle room.
Yeah, but how you gonna get 60
I
in
don't
this
know.
country?
Just saying. I don't know.
We're not gonna
In
get
this
60.
country.
I'm just throwing out numbers. I don't know.
I would
Yeah.
say this: we would need at least 50. We would need at least 53 at the very most, and I'm pushing it, saying this 54, but we can do with 53,
So
and
if
we
you
can
get
push.
54, oh, not to cut you off, but if you get 54, do you guys know which states are up? Because I know Kentucky senator, he's probably going to get reelected.
Yeah,
Rand Paul, I cannot see him losing.
I'm not even
I don't
sure
think
who's
Rand is. I
up
don't think
this
Rand is going to
round.
run anymore.
Rand
I
is
don't think-
running.
Oh, Rand's
Rand
running.
is
He's too
definitely
young.
running.
He
And
ain't-
I
he
can
ain't
tell you
going
who
home.
his opponent is. His opponent, well, so far on the Democratic side, you got Charles Booker. And Charles ran the last time when McConnell was running, but the Democrats, I'm not going to get into that, but they got Amy McNaught qualified, the one that said that she was a Trump Democrat. He
Yeah, I know
ran
you're
when
talking
she
about,
ran in the primaries, but she's not running, thank goodness. And now Charles Booker's going to run, but he, I want to be wrong so bad, audience, because I cannot, I detest Rand Paul to the uttermost of the bottom pit of my stomach. He's the throw up, he's the vomit, he's the manure, he's everything. But I
But he's not
cannot
Ted
see him
Cruz.
lose. No, he's worse than Ted Cruz. He's worse than Ted Cruz.
No,
And I'll tell you
no,
what.
no,
Oh, yes, he
no,
is. Oh, yes,
no,
he is.
no,
Because what
no.
Rand Paul will do, Ted Cruz is just telling you straight up, this is what I think. It's horrible what he says. It's horrible what he does, but he's straight with what he does. He's doing it right there in your face. Rand Paul uses these big fluffy terms, and they're so, if you don't watch it, you'll find yourself agreeing with them until you realize what his policies are. That's why I say he's way worse than Ted Cruz. They're both garbage, but Rand Paul is, if I had to just pick one that I'd rather have Ted Cruz all day long, every day of the week. I don't want either one, but I'm just saying if I had to pick between the two, I'm going with Ted Cruz over Rand Paul any day. And Cruz is up. He's definitely not losing. I can't see where the Democrats are going to get these 53 seats from.
Well, it's about what is the time frame we're looking at. Now, honestly, I don't know who all is up this rotation.
Yeah, I know.
I know that Warnock is because I'm in Georgia, but I don't follow the rest of the states because most of my energy is on the local level, or I'm trying to get more engaged on that level. Again, I've kind of slacked off over the years, so I'm guilty too. But the senators sit there for 6 years.
Yep, they
that's
sure
why
do.
we got to deal with Sinema. She's got another 3-4 years in the tank.
She's got 3.
So that's why right now she doesn't have to do anything. She gets paid by people who just love to see her not be either side. And so
but
that's what she's playing.
You know,
she's getting paid for it.
She is the one. She's gonna be probably the first recipient of my Girl Buy Award because she campaigned herself like, "Oh, I'm so progressive, and you got to have a living wage." Then she got there and was like, "Okay, whatever."
Yeah, she lied her way into it.
I mean, that's what she did.
She lied her way into it.
Yeah, I mean,
she really did. But like you said, Marlon, she's not running again. Did you see how she got treated at the airport by that person that confronted her? I was so happy that lady did that. I was like, she wasn't rude.
See, these are all emotionally fulfilling, but they don't do much, right? So the bigger thing on the Sinema to me is that they did pass their little no confidence vote thing, so that they're getting a primary person ready. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like, what did we like? We got to somehow put what we want and then chart a path to it, because it's not going to happen just because we want it to.
Yeah, but I think for the regular citizen, why I cheered her doing that, the way Cinema kept looking at it was like, okay, yeah, you gonna keep keep looking down, because that's where I want your head sitting there looking in shame, because that's what you should feel right about me.
We talking about when she was on the plane.
Yes.
That wasn't in shame. That was ignoring her.
That was
You
enough.
know, and then you got
That's why I said don't even
Mansion. You
talk.
got people rolling up on him in a yacht,
Oh, well,
talking
he
to him
didn't
off the
care. He was just
balcony.
like, "What do you
So,
want?"
like
That's what
Marlon
I'm saying.
said, these people don't care.
This Saturday is the story. That's what's going to be the story. Now you talking about the plane, but you forgot to talk about the bathroom. And the bathroom
Oh
came
yeah, they
first.
followed her to the bathroom. That's
Yeah, and
right.
the Democratic Party is already saying, "Well, I understand you're not happy, but shame on you. Don't do that." So it's like we're still trying
Yeah,
to
that's what
protect.
like Democratic Party be like.
No,
Yeah, keep following her in the bathroom. Now, don't do no violence. That's wrong and that's tacky. Don't do that. Do not do
I,
that, audience, because we know we got some.
no, I put it in the same category as she falls into that category. Theus, I don't condone it, but I
But I
understand.
understand.
But I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
understand why
that's
those
what.
people follow her, because she's evasive. When they ask her, what is it apart, she doesn't agree with the filibuster number. Does she ever put out what number she will agree to? No.
And
It's like she's
Yeah.
just
So I
there
mean,
to
I have
sit.
no compassion for her. I
Yeah.
just think that as an outside person, like I vote Democratic, but that's not my party, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So I yeah, it's easy for me to criticize them and whatever. I don't have to play the inside game that exists. No
Well,
matter how
she's
much I
yeah.
wish the game didn't exist, it does exist.
Yeah.
So Biden can't approach these senators and just go rogue on them, because if they come out ahead of him on the news cycle, that will be the story. The story will be that Kirsten Sinema shame Biden, or Manchin gets the best of Biden, and the news will run with that for a week, and he will never have any leverage again. What little he could have after that,
and
like
there was a
it's a no-win situation for that part.
and there was a letter that was set up by the Democratic Party, and Bernie Sanders stayed out of it. Wouldn't put his name on it. Cory Booker didn't put their name on it, and it was about Kristen Sinema, and they was saying, it was wrong for the woman to follow her, and we don't condone it, and blah blah blah, and everything else. The part where they took their name off that letter was when they said, "We would hope that you would reconsider the reconciliation bill," and Booker said it better. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, "I don't want to put anything political in this. What's wrong is wrong, but I don't
I
want to
don't.
make
Yeah,
it
I
like."
don't think they was wrong for following her to the bathroom.
But that's because you agree with him.
Yeah,
But
because
I'm
if
I'm
I
Well,
see it,
here is my only thing about
yeah,
them following in here, and like again, I don't condone it, but I understand it. But the reason I don't condone it is because by the grace of God, you found two level-headed people who confronted her, compared to, okay, because
because people on the right could do the exact
understanding
same
United
thing that
yeah,
States,
they're
that's true.
understanding United States, we're gonna get some left people in there who mama was deported, who daddy was deported, whatever, who are not gonna be as cordial as those people were on the plane and in the bathroom. And that's what I don't want to happen, because I don't want that to be the story. Because we
yes.
already got Republicans already say, "Oh, that was wrong," and everything else. And I'm like, yeah, of course you do it, because cinema is doing your job. If there was anybody else, you wouldn't have said a word about it.
Yeah, I often say, man, you got to be careful when your opponent starts to cheer for you.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so for me, it's like this: certain, if we want to have a certain world or what have you, then we still have to be the ones to model what it is that we want. That doesn't mean you always take the high road, because I'm a person who believes in vengeance, and I'm a person who believes in violence if need be and all that stuff. But once again, what is it that you're after? So if a person goes into the bathroom, hey, maybe it's just me. Wait outside the door. They gotta come out eventually,
Yeah, they're
right?
gonna. Yeah, I'm
So
not going.
do it. So be outside. Don't go into what I would define to be a safe space. You don't go in somebody's house. You don't go
That's
into the
true.
bathroom. You don't go into the church.
Well, if it's
Stay
a
your
public,
butt.
I mean, did she go into the stall? No, she
But
I
just
don't know.
I
But the
no, she
point
didn't go
is,
she didn't go
you
into the
went
stall.
in
But
there
I
chasing
like the
this
plane
person.
thing. I love the plane situation.
I did. I like that.
The only thing that I didn't like is she asked questions, and that was made. And I apologize to the young lady that did it. I'm not degrading you at all when I say this. I wish you didn't ask her questions because you made yourself look silly because you're going to talk to a person who's not going to answer.
yeah, she
But
wasn't.
she
She was
had to
like
draw that distinction, I think.
she
But the
was
only
just like this the whole
but
time. I'm like,
but the only
okay,
thing that I did like is that she was on the plane because you couldn't go nowhere.
yeah, where was she
You
gonna
couldn't go
go?
to the bathroom, you couldn't run nowhere and everything else. And by the way, there is a third video of cinema. She was talking to somebody and he hit ha ha and she walked away and the lady was walking behind her asking the same questions over and over and over and over again. And she just kept walking and kept walking and kept walking and kept walking
Yeah,
until she
because
got
when
to
yeah,
the
what
car.
I mean, she had the when the Bishop Barber's group protested outside her office. She just basically had all of them arrested. She was like, arrest them. She will never ever confront a person that disagrees with her.
But what do
Because she
you
don't have
expect out
to.
of her? So yeah, I'm
I
like, just
expect
keep
okay,
harassing her. I say keep harassing her
yeah, I
because
teach beginners.
she's in that position. And especially if you are a citizen of Arizona, then whatever
Absolutely.
you feel is right
No.
without
Yeah, but just like you
causing
said, don't run
harm.
up on her
So
house. That's stupid.
yeah.
But if
So
she's at a fundraiser and she's getting millions of, oh yeah, protest at that fundraiser all
I
day,
agree.
every
Now
day.
that I agree with, yeah.
I agree.
Every day.
But at the same time though, and like I said, no violence. Don't put your hands on her. Don't
Yeah,
corner her. Don't do anything. But if she's walking down the street, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
make noise.
Make
Make
it so
noise.
uncomfortable for
Make
these
it
people to be anywhere.
uncomfortable. Make it
Yeah,
uncomfortable
because
for
she
her.
needs to, especially her mansion is just the idiot. But her, it's like, I feel like and this is why progressives especially have to be careful about who we endorse. It was like we were all so quick to endorse people like her and Tulsi Gabbard because they spoke the right language and they said the right things. But I don't feel like we looked at and she didn't have a record, so we couldn't look at anything and say, "Oh, well, she did this, 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 and this, and
Well,
this."
I will present to you that being a progressive, an elected official who is a progressive in 2020, 2021 is different than what it looked like in 2016 and is different than what it will look like in 2024. Like everything builds on itself. So to me, if you want more progressives in place, then we need to get more Democrats in place. And we have to flood the zone, so to speak. Then you, once you have now control,
Yeah.
right? You
You want
start
more
changing
headphones?
out players, and now you pull out. You know, hey, you're not performing up to snuff. Primary, you're not performing up to snuff. Primary, you know. But first, we have to get to a point where McConnell doesn't have the gavel, and that's and who's the guy on the House side? The horrible,
Oh, McCarthy.
yeah. We don't want him to have the gavel. So if we're so busy tearing apart the few players we have on the squad that we end up like giving up, then we just let the other team run.
But she was never on the squad. I mean, from the day
No,
that she did
not the squad, but like the team
the
squad,
progressive, she was never. I mean, when she
the
voted against the
Democratic.
$15 minimum wage, I'm like, sit down somewhere. I don't want to hear anything else that you said. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. And she was like, "Oh, I believe in it." Well, why did you vote? It's like she never explains why she's doing something. At least Mitch McConnell, when he says something, yeah, it's total garbage. But he's throwing out something. I'm like, oh, well,
But
that's
he's
essential.
lying to you.
Of course he's lying to me.
So how can you lift that up as being anything to be better?
He's saying something. Her
Because he's saying
saying,
something, he's
yeah,
lying
because
to
her
you.
saying nothing. It's like, okay, let me just come up with my own theory.
I don't follow that one because it's like one side. I mean, they're both lying.
Yeah, they're both lying. Exactly.
But one is lying out of, I don't know, either cowardice or ineptitude, and the other is lying because he's scheming to hurt you. I just can't hold that up as better in any way, right? Like, what would be bet? I guess here's a better way to put it, or another way to present. Um, if it's a Democratic uh, policy position that you don't support, how would you respond to it, right? Because like there's progressive initiatives,
Right.
and then there's like mainstream Democratic stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then there's your straight up corporatist Democrat, which is very much mainstream
Yeah, I was gonna say, aren't
Democrat,
they the same
but
thing?
but is but not quite, right? Because for example, you identify as a progressive.
Yes.
I don't identify as a progressive. I identify just as a black voter, right? So like I'm something slightly different, but most of my ideals or positions, you will find them on the progressive side, which is why I can rock with y'all. You know what I mean? But there's things that, like, for example, on the progressive side, a major focus is Medicare for all.
Yes.
Okay. And I have problems with that. Not that universal health care should exist. I absolutely agree that it should exist. But I'm always concerned or frustrated with, well, what are the controls and what are the corrections? So what I hear oftentimes from progressives is Medicare or universal health care. Like those are the two things I hear. Like
Right.
open the gates. If you're a citizen, you need insurance. That's part of it, should be a benefit of being a citizen of this country.
Right.
Right? I agree. But once again, my lane is black. So I'm looking at it and say, well, what about the healthcare disparities for black
Right.
women, black men, and black children in the
Absolutely.
existing system? What about the availability of healthcare, hospital care, specialist care in rural and non-city locations? Right. So those things are never discussed by the progressive group. They're only focusing on the bigger piece. And I'm saying, if you give me a bigger piece, but you still are not addressing what's killing me, did I benefit? So
Okay, I see your
it's a
point. Okay.
similar thing with the Democratic Party when they get to talking about something like we're going to do infrastructure and we're going to do bridges and all of that, and you're like, oh yeah, cool. I drive on bridges. I need safe bridges. Hey, yeah, but wait a minute. Where you going to build these bridges? How you going? Who you going to hire to do the work? Oh, are you still going to let the same 5 companies be responsible for all of this, so they all just get the money? But we still don't get anything fixed in the next 5 years, right? So it's like
Yeah,
you support the big
I
thing,
can
but
see
what
the
about the
point.
little part? Yeah,
But I still say McConnell gives some sort of explanation, and Kirsten Sinema's like, well, whatever. I do whatever I feel like.
yeah. I mean, for they're still not equal, only from the standpoint of Kirsten Sinema does not have power. The only power she has is purely of obstruction. Like no one's listening to Kirsten to find out what to do next,
Yeah, that's true.
right? But McConnell has a track record of delivering for his people. Like he ain't delivering any policy positions, but if they he's brought home the bacon, right? For them for years. So when he says something, there's weight behind it. And when he does something, it actually impacts things. So that's why I say they're not I can't balance them out because Kirsten is a momentary annoyance.
Yeah,
But
annoying is
McConnell
the really good
McConnell's
word
killing.
for it. Yeah, that's a really good word. But I was hoping Marlon would be on this segment, but I think he's disappeared. Um,
He has a comment out there.
where? I don't see it on the board.
He's trying to flip out his headset. He should be back.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, he must have didn't put it in the chat because I'm like, I literally see nothing. But I wanted to talk about my next subject, and I don't know if you're familiar with this news network, OAN, America News Network, America Only America News, or whatever they're called.
One
One
American news.
America,
Yeah,
the channel that literally makes Fox News look like Walter Cronkite.
yeah. They made that because Fox just wasn't conservative enough.
Fox is not conservative enough. Usually, and I'm not one to tell people, oh, don't look this up. But here's what I'll say. If you ever need a good laugh and you just want to sit and laugh, don't watch Maury like I do. Don't watch Love and Hip Hop. Don't watch Jerry Springer. Turn to this channel. I thought I had heard some ridiculous things that Fox News said, and I'm like, nobody can believe this. But this here network, oh no, they're way worse. I'm like, how can they even call themselves? I'm like, wait a minute. There's oh, what do they call it when you're out here and you're gossiping about celebrities?
Yeah. No, seriously, yeah, they're a tabloid. They're like a
Yeah,
tabloid news
they're
channel.
worse than a tabloid. Like they're like right below Elvis is alive and working at IHOP. They're like right below that level. So if anybody ever needs a laugh, just don't subscribe to their channel, but just watch them for about. You can only tolerate maybe 3 to 4 minutes before you're like,
Yeah,
no.
if you're left leaning.
If you're left leaning, unfortunately, if you're on the conservative side, you may just like it, but I doubt that anybody conservative watches my show. I don't know, but if you're out there, let me know. But the reason that I brought them up today is because I was reading a report online that said that AT&T, that wonderful company that provides the Dish Network and most likely most of the audience's phone services, are responsible for 90% of their funding.
Is it that high? I didn't know it was that high.
90%. And I'm going to read exactly what I found. I was like, 90%? It can't be that high. Oh, yeah, it was. And I'm going to read the exact words. Okay, because I had this all on my little thing. Okay, so, yep, there it is. Okay, and this is according to, okay, audience, my screens have decided did not work. Oh, and they have an app if you ever want to. Okay, so. The Guardian is where I got mine from. And I was reading this, and it says 90% of OAN's revenue since the news channel was launched in 2013 has came from AT&T. And the way that they wrote this article, it seemed to me to suggest that either AT&T is way more conservative than I thought, or they just are so desperate to buy influence that they're just like, we don't care. And I don't know which side of the fence I'm leaning on.
Well, it's the first time hearing that it's that high, but I think I saw a meme earlier today, and I don't know if I can quite express it well, but it was kind of like um, on one side were the Democrats, on another side were the Republicans, in the middle were the oligarchs.
Oh, you talking about that professional wrestling one where
Yeah,
yeah, I've seen that one.
right.
That looks
So
hilarious.
that is I think that was an exceptional framing because um, on our level we're fighting race, we're fighting ideology, right? But there's still another wing to this fight, and that's class. So AT&T funding OAN is news to me, pun intended. But um, at the same time, I'm looking back and I'm like, AT&T owns almost everything. Like they own
Everything.
HBO, they own all this stuff. So their motivations are far beyond my motivations. Like for them, it's we're going to fund everybody. So they put money on the left, they put money on the right, just like all these major influencers, not social media influencers, but like donors. They give money on both sides, just like Trump. He gave money on both sides. It's about buying access and buying power. So Trump was a meteor rising, and everybody was talking about Trump's going to have his own network. Trump's going to have his own network. Trump's going to have his own network. And then he didn't do it, but OAN stepped in to become the Trump network.
Well, here, according to this article, though, AT&T approached OAN's founder about starting a more conservative network than Fox, and that's where I'm like, well, wait a minute, that's like me owning, that's like Tracy Media. I know we don't have no money, but just saying, I go out to some group of progressives and say, this is what I want you all to say. Well, first of all, I wouldn't do that. I'm not giving people, if I have to say something, I'll just say it. But I guess it just shocked me because I'm like, if AT&T didn't give them funding, they're gone. That's it. They're finished.
Think about this. If you fund 90% of a quote unquote network that is hard selling to the Republican Party that is on the rise in power and energy, who are proven to be not the brightest. So they buy a lot of stuff through advertising and stuff like that. They buy a lot, right? Um, that's just a money play. If you're a multinational company and you're looking around, where's the money moving next? It's a cynical way to be, but
yeah, that's where I guess I'm not
where
getting
the money's
it.
moving. Hey, I got a 90% stake. That means all the money comes to me. Marlon, I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
No, you missed one thing. And Theus, you hit it 3 times. You said it 3 times. First of all, I heard everything. I apologize to everybody. My headphones was going dead, and I had to go find something. Um, so I apologize to everybody. Number two, I did hear everything that was said, and OAN is a piece of trash. Let's get that out the way. Number three, AT&T also has money in another subsidiary. Guess what that subsidiary also funds? That subsidiary funds CNN. So AT&T is playing OAN and CNN.
Yeah, they're playing both sides. I guess I'm just like
money has no political affiliation.
I guess I'm just waking up to this because this is how I've always operated my life. Either you hot or you cold. I don't have use for lukewarmness. And it's like
that's why we ain't rich.
That's true. That's probably it. Because I'm like, well, wait a minute.
And we have morals.
The darn morals keep getting away.
Yeah, I'm like, dang, if I just threw those away. If I just threw those away and got into internet wars, I would have more than 60. Well, I lost 2 subscribers, but I would have more than 63 subscribers. I guess if I just attack people all the time.
One, you got more than me, so
thank you. Me too.
There you go.
Yeah, but 7 of those are from my own email addresses. So I'm like, oh, this one.
But that's all right. But you're the thing that a lot of times, and I have to keep reminding myself, and I struggle with this, which is why I'm so thankful that each of you allow me to come on, because one of the reasons I don't have a lot of content is because I'm not so confident that anyone really wants to hear me talk anyway. But you're giving perspective and points of view that a lot of people have, but the algorithms that we have to play with, very hard to get picked up because we get segmented into Black identity, politics, and there's some other like subcategories that they kind of shuffle you into that keep you from moving up and getting the views that you're looking for.
Yeah, if it wasn't for my family, like, hey, y'all, keep subscribing. Hey, did you subscribe to my channel? Did you subscribe?
The only thing that keeps me going is, one, I just feel like I'm going to be pissed off about politics for pretty much the rest of my life. And instead of listening to everybody else talk about it, why don't I talk about it? And 2, I still have this dream. It may be futile. I don't know. But I look at certain people who have made it on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And I looked at some of their old videos. And they were pretty bad. I mean, they was really, really, really bad. In other words, if you saw their first few videos and you see what they doing now, it's like there was a different person. So that is my dream, is that I just keep chipping
going.
away at it. Just keep chipping away at it. I look at a lot of videos where they always say, how do you grow? Oh,
How you grow your YouTube channel?
David Patman. David Patman had a statement where he always had people come to him and say, "How do you grow your channel?" And he'll say, it's good to have it's good to have good ideas and you can speak well and everything else. But he said the main thing is have content. Constantly have content. Constantly make videos. And he said what's funny is one of the guys that he gave this instructions to, the guy said, yeah, I'll do it and everything else. And he said, and David said, and he must have thought I wasn't going to check on him. So when I went on and I saw a video in February, and then I go back on in the middle of February, no video. The end of February, no video. March come, no video. April, May,
Yeah.
June, a video. July, August. And it's like nobody, he said, it frustrates me because I don't want to get to the point where I just tell you I can't give you no advice, but that's the deal. Make content. Constantly put something out there. If you don't do nothing but go on there and say hello,
Yeah.
keep going out there.
I know, and I'm
YouTube has millions upon millions of
I'm
new
just
videos
like,
that drop
well,
every
wait
day.
a minute. But yeah, I know, and I'm extremely my own. I'm my own worst critic. Always have been, always will be. Probably. But I'm
But it's cool. You're good.
I know.
So
I'm
keep
just
pushing.
like, I just did my 50th show of Tracy Takes On. 50 shows. 50. Just crossed
That's
it.
awesome.
I know. I was like, wait a minute. This is 50 shows I've done. I'm not as consistent as I would want to be. That's the only thing that's holding me back. But I got up. I'm getting there. It's better.
Well, you identified it, so push through it. Now back to the politics.
Yes, back to politics. I wanted to talk about the next thing I wanted to talk about was this whole debt ceiling discussion. And there's a couple things that makes me angry about it. Number one, don't we have more pressing issues than the darn debt ceiling being raised? Like, for real, we got voting rights out here.
Not right now.
Not
it's
right
a
now.
manufactured crisis, but it's a real
Wait a minute, no. Let me finish my whole statement here.
Good.
There are way more issues to me that are more pressing than Mitch McConnell acting like a little bitty crybaby, and then at the end decides I'm going to give up anyway.
No, he didn't.
No, he conceded.
He will.
We didn't.
He will.
He will in the end, but he didn't.
Yeah, I thought I read the article that
this is what he did.
Right. This was his dipping his toes in the water. But eventually he's gonna jump in.
Yeah. This is all tactical, right?
Yeah.
Mitch McConnell knows his game cold.
Yeah,
so
and I'm like, wait a minute. There's people that literally cannot pay the rent on their houses. There's people without health care. And I'm like, y'all sitting here fighting over a dang on debt ceiling that under Trump you raised several times. You're like, okay, whatever.
And
but now
they
you have a problem.
Ran up $8 trillion in debt.
$8 trillion.
So that raising the debt ceiling is going to help us continue to pay for it. But that's using like facts and logic. McConnell is a creature of the Senate. So his whole gambit was, okay, let me go ahead and heat check the Democratic Party real quick. Let me see if they're soft enough yet. So what I'm going to do is try to bully you into having to use reconciliation to get around us, because that way we use up your last reconciliation opportunity with the parliamentarian. Yeah. So if I can bully you into doing that, then that shows that I still have more power than you think I do. But I don't really care if you actually follow through on it. I'm just going to put that out there so I can make you look uncertain. Then he knows that, well, we really don't want this thing to fully fall apart. But at the end of the day, what's another shutdown to the Republicans? Which is why they only moved this thing out to December. Because right now, too many people are paying attention and the Republicans are looking bad. So we'll wait for a new news cycle. So now we'll tie it to the end of the year because the Democrats aren't ready to pass their. If the Democrats were ready to push their reconciliation and infrastructure bills, then McConnell would stand strong right now. But the Dems still aren't ready yet. So he's saving his what do you call it? Keeping your powder dry. Push it out to December. By then, the Democrats will be ready to do their whole reconciliation thing, and then I'll flare up again like a bad hemorrhoid.
Yeah, he is a hemorrhoid. I'm just
But-
like, it's got to be more pressing issues than this made up.
Well,
Fake
It's not really
controversy.
made up.
that's the
problem.
deal, though. Everything that you're talking about, if the country goes into debt, none of what you want is going through.
Exactly.
Nothing. You
We go into
literally
default,
stop
it's over.
everything that you, anything right now, Tracy, that you complain about comes to an utter, complete halt. Zero, nada, nothing is going to get done. And it's not because they don't want to, because right now they don't want to. If this shuts down, you can't. You don't have the money anymore.
Hey, Marlon.
And by the way, speaking of money, we're running out of money next week.
Yeah, I've been ran out of money. I don't know where they at.
No, but what's so interesting with this is like what Marlon was hitting on. If America did default, it would crush everyone.
It sure
And
would.
I think one of the things that finally helped push McConnell, which I don't think was any coincidence, was the media narrative shifted just a couple days ago. It was subtle, but it was powerful. And they were talking about how if the American debt ceiling did not get raised, here's how it will hurt wealthy people
Yeah,
because
and
it'll mess up their stock money because the stock market would crash. It will make the cost of borrowing higher. It'll make the worth of the dollar weaker. It will lower our credit rating internationally. So we can't fight wars. We can't do anything. Now you messing with rich people. See, so long as the messaging before was, we got to pay for what the Republicans already did. True statement. Most of America, want. The rich people know my real money is not in my bank account. My real money is in my assets and my stocks. Yo, McConnell, you need to get on the phone and work this out, bro.
yeah, and I guess that's what at the core is making me so angry because again, it's when the squeaky wheel gets all the oil, and the rest of us are still out here like, okay, and it's like, who the heck cares about us? But the last thing I want to get into, before we conclude this episode is I always like to spend the last couple minutes doing a totally fun topic. And this week's topic is if you could name a television show that others think is total trash, but you still watch it.
Oh, bet. Yeah, I'm watching The Nanny right now.
Who thought that was trash TV?
That's most.
Oh, Marlon. Okay,
a lot of
because
people didn't like that show because of her
I
voice.
love that show.
That voice, woo.
But I love that show.
I love that show.
I love that show.
I'm like, wait a minute, I love that show. I
That
think
and Burn
I
Notice
get
is my
into the
other show.
habit of watching shows that are popular enough to stay on TV, but it's not mainstream talked about. So, like the new Fantasy Island, that grew on me, but nobody's talking about it. But that show kind of grew on me. Now, granted, I'll give it to you. Those first 2 episodes was kind of like, you're gonna have to come a little better on that third one, and
yeah.
it did.
My answer is gonna totally shock everybody.
Probably not, Tracy.
Yeah, it is.
How
Okay.
long we've known each other now?
A couple months.
She probably gonna say something like the Beatles live.
No, I'm not.
Elvis Presley in Vegas or something.
No, I'm gonna say this. I'm not proud of the show that I'm about to say, but I find myself watching it. The Maury Povich show.
Now, that's definitely trash TV.
That
a lot of people like it. So,
I watched it until I found out it started being fake.
I mean, of course, I know it's fake, but my favorite parts are the "You Are Not the Father" ones. I love those episodes.
I used to watch Maury. I used to watch Judge
Judy, Jerry.
Well,
Springer.
when she came out,
no, I couldn't stand. I still that woman is still on TV. Jeez Louise.
Yep, she's still on TV. But my favorite part, well, my favorite part is when they say you were not the father, and all of a sudden they turn into a track star. I'm like, okay, now I'm with it.
That's what I mean. I'll tell you exactly when I stopped watching it.
Of course, it's fake, but yeah,
the woman that came on there 13 times, and on the 14th time she came on there and found out that the daddy was one of her best male friends.
Oh no, I'm
sorry.
Watching it in college.
You're literally just told the United States of America that you lose. That you had to go there 13 times.
Hey, it could have just been one wild party, sir. Could have been one wild party.
13
men. And some of these men are I want to normalize calling men sluts. That's what I want to do. Just normalize calling men sluts.
I try not to use that word.
It's not profane. Some men out here, I say it all the time on the Progressive Queens. We need to normalize calling men that. We have no problem calling women that.
I don't call women that. But no, I agree with you. But I agree with you. I think the blame has got to, man. Everybody who got some blame need to get blamed, whatever the situation is.
Yeah, like she didn't make that change. She is not Mary Magdalene.
Always looking at things from the standpoint of what the woman could have done better or could have done different. Yep. I'm definitely not saying that's what you're saying, Marlon. I'm just saying like the prevailing narratives it's sad, but like I said, when you hold blame, you got to hold it on both sides.
Yeah,
the women have got to police themselves.
Don't go all Sage Steele, which is what I'm going to talk about next week when she started going to the blame the woman card. I'm like, girl, yeah.
I disagree on one part. I am blaming her only because of this, because you have to start thinking about the child, and when somebody comes up and says your mom is a and you get mad and upset and go, don't you call my mom that? And they show you the video of her going on there 14 times to try to find the daddy. There's your evidence.
Well, she was getting paid every time she went on there. She wasn't just coming on there to make herself look like an idiot. But
she shows. So that's the other part. And this is separate but related. All money ain't good money. So if you're willing to take that check to be presented in that light, then you don't get any sympathy or compassion from me at all. You literally chose that role.
What's the difference between that and Cruz? What's the difference between that and any other politician? You took the role to do a certain job.
Yeah.
All money ain't good money. It's no different. You're getting paid to look like an idiot.
Except for we esteem politicians. We esteem politicians, but we chastise the Maury Show participants. Not you all, but I'm just saying.
I'll take it back. I'll take back one thing. This is the one that I said I do agree on. I blame her. Now, that's a separate thing. Prostitution and stripping and people that's trying to stop that from happening because it's degrading everything. The only reason they do it is because they're getting paid. And who are they getting paid by? They're getting paid by men. So why are you jumping on the women if that's an open market? Well, you want to try to stop a strip joint, and trust me, it ain't like I'm defended. I haven't been to one in,
don't say 2 weeks.
No, 30 years or something like that. Something to that effect. But my point is, there are always guys there. There are always guys in there.
Sex
So
always
why are
sells
you blaming a woman?
because it's easier to do it because men have the power. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. So for me, like some things there shouldn't be like sex. How did that become a moral issue, right? Uh, drugs might as well make them all legal too. Like stop trying to decide what is legal or moral
For somebody
because
else.
yeah, because half the time the stuff that are being presented as moral or immoral is coming from a completely backwards interpretation of something.
Because
So
it's a class thing.
yeah,
It's a
it's
class
still
thing.
yeah,
Yeah, it still is, but
You
you know what I'm saying.
nobody. The United States had a huge problem with opiates that put a lot of black minorities in jail. They started a war on drugs, and they had no issue or no problem doing it until it started hitting the white community.
yep. And then we
And
had a
then that
problem.
war on drugs turned to
Campaign of compassion.
we need to rehab. We need to find.
Yeah, we needed rehab
We need
centers.
to
We
find some
needed the whole
rehab
truth.
center. We need to find that because you couldn't find that doctor when the black people was taking it, but now the white people taking it. We need to find the doctors who did it, and we need to sue, and we need to make sure we take all their money.
But then on top of
It was
that,
the same doctors. It was the same doctors. It was the
and then
same
on, and
people.
on top of that, they got paper trails, so you can actually track this stuff down. But
Yeah,
they're connected and so forth. You know, when it's black people on drugs, they call it a crack house. When it's white people on drugs, they call it like a cocaine den.
a
You know what I'm
cocaine
saying?
addiction.
I'm talking about like the den. They call it a den. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a drug
Oh, but
den.
it's the
You
same
know what I'm
thing when
saying?
it's a
It's
black
all
Yeah, it's
person.
like
When
it's
it's
nice.
the
a black
same
person,
place.
when it's a black person, you're a crackhead. When you're a white person, it's a drug addiction.
Right.
Or opioid
But
dependency.
that's
Or be
that's what
on
happens
dependent.
when you have power. Because when we looked at George Floyd, and remember during the trial, they kept trying to paint him as this out of control drug addict, right? But he was addicted to opioids and he became addicted to them because of back pain. And so it was through medication that was prescribed to him that
By
he then
doctors.
became addicted to. His white girlfriend had the exact same situation and she became addicted to it. Now, they painted him as some kind of a monster drug fiend. And then with her, they just kind of tried to pretend, well, yeah, she mentioned it. Let's keep it pushing. The thing is, if you don't have the power to control your own narrative, someone else will write it for you.
Yep, they sure will.
We could go, but let's do it modern day, as modern as it can get. Ahmaud Audrey, the three gentlemen, and I use that term very loosely.
Yeah, very
Not
loosely.
exactly the word I want to use, but I can't cuss on this show.
Yeah, sure can.
Try to use. Apparently, he had a mental illness years ago, and they tried to get that into play during the court before
Their
court
appeal
proceedings.
thing, yeah.
So they are going to try anything and everything to make minorities. And I'm gonna use that word minorities. I don't want to just say black people. If you broke,
Yeah,
you're
because
you're,
that is
you're in
that.
that doggone minority, whether you want to or not. Darn
Mm,
what Trump tell you. If you're broke, you're in that minority. They treat you
Yeah.
the exact same way. You're not drug addicted. You a crackhead.
Well, they don't treat you the exact same way, but
same
y'all
way,
still. But
yeah.
no, I
No,
mean
I
you're
tell
right
you,
though, because like
they're one step above you. But take my word for it. The
they
one
don't
thing
like
I've
you either.
always
Yeah,
said that the one thing that I've always said that was that's worse than racism is money.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Because
classism
once
is
you
worse
get
than
to a certain
racism.
standard, and I'll never forget, by the way, speaking of shows that people think is trash, but you watch, do y'all remember the show Snap?
Yeah, yeah.
Snap.
Snap. That's the one where the woman
The
like
woman always is the
loses it
killer.
and
Yeah,
kills. Yeah,
I
and
have never heard of this shit.
but they
it
don't
was a
focus on the abuse that made her snap.
no, but it was a woman who, and it was a black woman, and trust me, she snapped. I don't
Oh,
remember the whole thing.
snapped! Where they show the how? Okay, yeah, okay, I've heard that show. Yes.
And it was a black woman, and I was listening but not listening because they start running together, so you just try to get to the part where she loses her mind and kills the husband, boyfriend, whatever. And she killed the husband and she killed her boyfriend. And they found the evidence and blah blah blah. It didn't dawn on me until I heard. So the police called the family and said she needs to turn herself in. And I went, I'm sorry. They called the family and said what? And then I backed up and went, wait a minute. They called the family? Because trust me, if you're broke, they're not calling you.
They sure not.
They're at your front door already. And they're not knocking.
Yeah, they kicking doors in. Or going into the wrong house, shooting you, and then blaming you for getting shot.
Why did they do that? Because the black family was rich.
Yeah, so yeah.
Money is a lot worse than racism.
Well, I mean, money created race.
Yeah, money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true too.
Classism is gross.
Yeah, I think that's a really good discussion to have next week. And the reason I say that is that we went a whole hour, and I was not expecting to go a whole hour. But everyone,
you should know that was going to happen when you
I know, because I got to go to work tomorrow. This isn't the weekend where I can just lay low and wake up. No, I got to go to work tomorrow. But I still want to thank you guys for coming in. Everyone who's still watching this broadcast podcast, remember to like, share, subscribe, support us on Patreon. In about 3 weeks, I plan on doing a show exclusively for the Patreon, but you can't get it unless you participate, starting at $1 per month. And the address is coming up on your screen here in just a moment. There it is. I thank you all for watching. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you all next week for another episode of Thursdays with Tracy. Have a great day.
Thank you, Tracy. Bye, Mom.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, Bill.